He is Bob Pollock from the Extension Service. You can give Bob a call right now at 724-479-1160 or 349-WCCS. It's 349-9227. If you have a question about lawns and gardens and things of that nature, then now's the time to ask it, and he'll take a chance. He'll take a shot at it. All right. Let's say good morning. Hi.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What are we talking about
So we've
today?
got a stiff breeze blowing the flag out there this morning.
We do.
I noticed a couple big limbs laying down over the sidewalk on the way to work today.
Well, all you need to do is look at Indiana County 911 and see the number of calls for trees and lines down, and you know that it's been a rough night. All right.
Between the rain and that.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the ash trees.
Mm-hmm.
And probably if you'd go out and identify some of those, we'd find that maybe a lot of them are dead ash trees that have been lingering around.
The ones that are falling down.
The ones that are falling down now and causing all the trouble. Because they've really done, as far as line cleaning, and everything, they've really been doing a excellent job at cleaning the right-of-ways out.
Unfortunately,
recently,
nature's doing it for us.
But now things are adding to that. But
it gives us a chance to talk about the emerald ash borer, which is a bug that specifically targets that tree. When there are no more of those trees, do they move on, or do they say to themselves, well, I wonder if that tree over there is tasty, and go after a maple or something like that?
So far, that's not been the case.
Mm-hmm.
They've been very specific to
the ash
species. There's one other tree that, and it's probably been 5 years ago, that they found it on. White fringe tree is a species. And around here, and when I was in school, we learned that as a shrub. It was a nice little shrub.
Oh, yeah.
White fringe tree.
The white?
But, yeah.
I've never heard of that.
But just a normally plant, multi-stemmed kind of shrubby plant, might get 6 to 8 feet tall. Nice flowers in the spring, white flowers, and it was a nice landscape shrub that you could use. But and I believe that was in Ohio that they discovered that there were emerald ash borer on those trees. But that really hasn't.
That's a pretty tree.
Yeah, hasn't really taken off. It's been primarily the ash trees that they're specifically attracted to and invade.
Yeah. Well, there are some people that will eat liver, too.
So, yeah, very true. And other parts as well. So down the road, when that species gone, will that insect, will it be able to evolve and maybe adapt for its survival to feed on other species, or will it
start killing other types of trees?
Yeah, or will it come to an end?
Or will we kill it first?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those sorts of things, and that's a whole subcategory of what it is that you deal with every day.
And there's all kinds of things. Yeah. So that species is gone, but. And one of the things that's happening with like the brown marmorated stink bug, as time goes on, there are other things in nature that seem to
prey on them.
Yeah. Or that are limiting their population or hold them back or keep them in check a little bit so that they're not gone rampant.
Well, what were the ladybugs released for a few years ago? They were released for some sort of invasive thing.
There are, and I guess we're always looking for new ways to control pests. And so ladybugs have been found over time that they are a predaceous insect that feed on some other soft-bodied insects. So they can be beneficial to us. So they're a net beneficial group for the most part, unless they get categorized in the nuisance group because they're invading our house or bothering us. When you start to look at that, as entomologists in that case, look at those things and are trying to identify, and plant pathologists are constantly now looking for, and biologists as well, looking for organisms, fungi, bacteria, Bacillus thuringiensis, and other species of that bacillus are bacteria that we've found in many cases to be beneficial. They help control some of the we'd call them lepidopterous pests. So corn borer, the larva of corn borer, and corn earworm, and fall armyworm. So those bacillus will feed on them and kill them. And so they found that, and they've been able to, they can reproduce. They can get those to multiply in the lab. They're out in nature multiplying, but they can also do that in the lab. And so now there's a number of different products that are available that are using these live organisms to help control some of our pests.
You're very Latin today. Very, very impressive.
Oh, well.
Puella, pupam, putat to you, too. He's Pollock. We're talking invasive insects today.
Yeah. But
by the way,
so all those things.
Yeah.
So you're constantly looking for that. So going back to the lady beetles, they found that they were beneficial. So then you can rear those as well, and then you can box them up and ship them, and people can use those, especially in more protected culture. So in greenhouses and indoor structures where, because out in the landscape, it's very difficult once you release those. They have wings, they'll fly.
Yeah.
The larva, not so much, of course. And the larval stage for the lady beetles is what predates on other insects. So on those soft-bodied insects, aphids, and things like that. So the life cycle also comes into play. It's not always the adult insect that we're trying to get. It might be the larval stage that's actually the feeder. The adult is the breeder, and also the disperser. So they might have wings so they can travel and move to other locations. And so that's why a lot of these things have worked better where we have a little more control over the environment versus just outside in a field. So it's not as... So there's all different kind of circumstances where these work better than others.
I was just trying to be a smart aleck and come up with another eater type of thing, a skeeter eater, breeder eater, those sorts of things. Well, those are all pretty interesting things, and there are people who they make careers out of studying one insect or another, and
definitely,
and what it is that they do.
And then when the new invader comes to town, which it's really not a matter of when and if, it's when it's going to get here. Yeah, when is it going to get here, and how is it going to get here? Because there's things that are, of course, pests, but they're controllable in other countries, just like we have here. But then when that gets out of its native environment and moved to a more susceptible environment, then they become a real problem.
Yeah, in their native lands, the plants have evolved to the point where they can resist them, and so they go searching for something new and tasty, and they find it in Pennsylvania.
There's checks and balances built into the system, which has happened over many, many, many years.
Yeah. Okay. So folks are going to be thinking about that and having nightmares about their ash trees and everything else that's about to come falling down around them.
Yeah, and within pest control. There's just a lot of ongoing effort right now to look at more biological materials, things that'll control pests that, for one reason or another, are not as toxic as some of the other options that we've had up until this time. But so that stuff all evolves and really is continuing to evolve, because at one time. Chlordane or DDT, those things were, at their time, in that day, they were really important.
Those were the chemical solutions.
Those were things that somebody came up with and they found that it really worked well. And then as time has gone on, it's around more, it's used more. We learn more about it. We find out that maybe it's not as perfect as it originally was. So all that continues to move along, and as we learn more, then we look and develop new things that hopefully are going to be better all around. but still are able to control that pest.
And there you go. He's Bob Pollock, and thank you for coming in and talking about that with us.
Well, you're welcome.
Just got a note that Route 56 is closed in the Brush Valley area.